Climb aboard the Paranormal Express and take wild journeys into the unknown, where you can listen to our spooky paranormal shows. Between our stops, we provide you with only the very best indie music for your listening enjoyment. Our stops include Journey Through the Paranormal Gate, Dr. J, The Mallard Report, Swamp Gas, Noble Boomy Inside the Goblin Universe, Paranormal Heart, 222 Paranormal, and Inside the Jackal's Head. Trains run 24/7 through the Black Swamp digital radio station, and you can catch the Paranormal Express at blackswampradio.net.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward.
Welcome back to Paranormal Heart. Before we start, Boo and I would like to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate this time of year. And we're sending you all great respect and much love. And we'd also like to dedicate this episode to my friend Ricky Lee. Soar high with the Eagles, my friend. Don't forget to listen to Paranormal Heart on Podbean on the last Sunday of every month, Black Swamp Digital Radio each Friday night, Conflict Radio on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, and TuneIn. So, in episode 13, we'll be touching on various traditions and myths this time of year, and some are known, some are not. Tonight, to help me discuss this, I have not one, but two guests. They're cousins, as well as co-hosts to a show I've been listening to for a few years now. And they bring a Christian perspective to the paranormal. So let's get started. Please welcome co-hosts of ParaTruth Radio and my friends, Justin and Erik with a K. I had to throw that in there.
Oh, thanks.
Something that he's just started with the new podcast.
I know, and I love it. Now, I didn't introduce you with your last names because I'm going to be honest, I can never remember how to pronounce Erik's last name. So
that is quite all right.
If you guys don't mind just kind of giving us a little introduction and tell us what you do and let us know how to pronounce your last names.
Erik, take it away.
Well, okay, so my last name is Skurback. That is the first time in 10 years that I've ever said my last name on radio.
Really?
Yes.
You heard it here first, folks.
I actually keep my last name, a lot of myself, away from the radio quite a bit for a number of reasons, mostly career-wise. But as for what I do, well, I'm a host for two radio shows. One is Paranormal, ParaTruth Radio in particular. Justin and I have been doing that for about 10 years, I think, right, Justin?
Well, ParaTruth has been 4 years. But
well, yeah, but we've been
podcasting in general. Yeah, it's almost 10 years. It's been
about 10 years. So we've been in podcasting for a long time. I have another podcast as well called All the Hats. It's a podcast about filmmaking and industry. That one's very, very new. It's only been up for about a month and a half now, I think. Aside from that, I work in the film and television industry, mainly in reality television. And then I do a lot of side producing as well on creative works, basically just narrative stuff. Currently a web series, a couple different like TV shows and movie type stuff. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
You're a busy lad.
I tried to be.
Well, and as Erik said, we've been doing this for 10 years, you know, going through the different shows that we've done and the current incarnation of ParaTruth Radio. I was given a show called Beyond Reason, and that's specifically more so the mainstream side of the paranormal, where Erik and I talk about the paranormal from both sides, Christian and the mainstream. And it's something that, I was doing a few years ago because Erik and I had split, what was it, a year and a half into Night Stalkers? 2 years?
Yeah, something like that. It was right around 2012, 2013. So that was... I don't know. That's too much thinking.
Somewhere in there. Anyways, the biggest reason I had left Night Stalkers was I was kind of fed up with the one network we were on. A friend of mine had started a different network, so I switched over. So Erik killed Night Stalkers literally and turned into Forgotten Truth Radio. And once he was done with that, we both had kind of taken a sabbatical, I guess, from podcasting. And when we came up with ParaTruth Radio, it was kind of a melding of both old names of the podcasts that we had individually, but also to Paranormal Truth is kind of how it falls as well. And since then, I've become a writer. I've got the 2 podcasts, and it's hard to juggle all of those things. Like Erik's podcast, All the Hats. I'm sure it's hard to balance all those hats on that head of yours there, Erik.
Yeah, and you both know I love all your shows, and Justin, love your books. Book 2.
Working on it.
Just saying.
Definitely.
What's the name of your first book so everyone can check it out?
It's actually a series. The Legendary Creature Project, The Griffin, is book 1. Book 2 is going to be called The Worm, and it's following the story of Dr. York Hemshine, who is trying to bring back legendary creatures to the world through human genetic manipulation.
It's a great book, folks. You guys, you have to look for it. You just do. And Erik, you've been working on movies, I believe?
Yeah. Well, I'm currently actually editing a web series that I produced out in Los Angeles, where we only filmed 3 episodes, and they're the first 3 that we're going to be releasing on YouTube, hopefully by summer, by around May or June, to kind of hopefully find funding and also build our viewership, our fan base, and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a comedy about a couple of gamers, 2 of which are really not gamers at all, but join forces with a very professional, one would say the world's best gamer, to create a new team that would rival the 5-year champions. And it's a really fun, intricate story between 3 people who really have nothing in common minus the whole gaming industry. So it's really a fun and exciting series.
Sounds interesting. I can't wait to see it. So I can't believe ParaTruth has only been around for 4 years.
Yes.
Yeah. I swear I've been listening to it longer.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
funny.
funny.
One thing I found that was fascinating was David Scott just celebrated 4 years with Spaced Out Radio.
Yeah, that's right. Well. Good old Dave. Sporting the beard. So yeah, that's kind of neat. 4 years. Great. So
it's been a long 4 years. I mean, we've covered a lot of different stuff.
You guys have been really busy. Personal and podcast and everything else.
It's hard sometimes when you're doing this to come up with pertinent topics that have been, pardon the pun, talked to death.
Yeah. So true. So tonight I thought, since it is Christmas time, and you guys have a podcast with a Christian point of view, I thought it would be great to have you guys on and start talking about various traditions this time of year and myths and legends. And like I said in the intro, some of them are known and some of them aren't all that known.
Yeah. We actually just got done recording as of this recording now, talking about one of the ones that not many people talk about, and that's telling ghost stories during the Christmas season.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. Yeah, it's something I've known for a long time, but a lot of people, other than hearing it in that Christmas song, people don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Erik had referenced this a couple times during the episode. I mean, the only story you hear about today is A Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking about doing an episode researching some of the other stories that had come out from that time period where they were following that tradition. And Erik, like, he broke down the story so much that it was like, holy crap, it makes so much sense after he broke it down, about, just somebody being transformed. And like, for example, I'll have you take this because you were talking about the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so I can't remember exactly what Justin brought up that got us talking about the ghost of.
I had asked about, do you think that ghosts can come from the future to talk to us?
That's right. So that's something that I felt like one could look at it from two perspectives. One would be paranormal, but the other, I think, which also coincides with the paranormal, is science, and that is the idea of space and time. Mm-hmm. In my research and understanding, spirits, ghosts, God, they don't live within a space or time. They live outside of it. And therefore, if something is coming from the future, they're probably also from the past and possibly from our present. And God is a great example of that, because in the Bible, it's clear that he is of the past, the present, and the future. He was there when we were little and is still there now. He's there for us in the future, all while remaining in our present time. He's everywhere at once. And so to say that a spirit that is of the future is only of the future just doesn't really make sense. It's probably a spirit that can play in any role whatsoever. But beyond that, like, just the idea of, for the story, the idea of the spirit of future past, we were talking about it, and I mentioned that I don't think really the story itself is about the ghosts that we're seeing on the TV or in the story. It's not about this ghost of spirit of future past, or this ghost of the past, or the ghost of present. It's about the events that are being played within those moments. The ghost isn't the thing that's leading Scrooge around. It's actually the events that he's leading Scrooge to. The illness of Tiny Tim, that's a ghost of the future. His death is a ghost of the future. And the reason he's the ghost of future past, this particular ghost, is because he's leading him to a future that could become a ghost of his past at some point down the line. And so it's important to realize that a story like A Christmas Carol isn't a story to try to scare people or get them to believe in ghosts. Is to get them to make sense of their current situation and what they can do now to change a horrible future, and maybe secure a good, strong life that they can be proud of in the end.
Sounds like you did lots of research on that.
We'll say yes.
I'll say that just came off the top of his head.
It did, yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense. And
it does.
Being in the film industry, I'm sure that's how you were able to analyze it so much easier that way.
I don't think I would have been able to analyze it quite as well as Erik.
Well, I was just talking to one of Shelley's family members, and we were talking about how you can kind of predict TV shows and stuff. And in a sense, that's kind of what he's doing, breaking down that part of the story is you can see what the storyteller was trying to represent and bring forth in that. And I think that's a really good interpretation of it.
Agreed. So while I was looking into various myths and things like that for this time of year, I came across something that I've never heard of, and maybe you guys have. It's called La Befana, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes.
Holiday Witch of Italy.
Yep. Actually, just being in Sicily not too long ago, one of Shelley's coworkers wanted us to pick up a puppet of it, and we actually, Erik and I had talked about La Befana on last year's Christmas episode with all the different creatures and legends from Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because I knew you were recently in Sicily, and I figured you would have heard of it.
Unfortunately, not many people talk about those legends there anymore. And more specifically, we were talking to the tour guide who's a friend of ours in Sicily and Italy. The Christmas is governed by the Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
and they do not allow any selling of Christmas. I'll call it paraphernalia, like no ornaments, nothing of Christmas until December. Same thing for playing music. Nothing associated with Christmas can be done until that season, until that month of December.
I really wish that North America would follow that too, because here in Canada, growing up, it started out, December 1st, you would start seeing decorations and Christmas music and everything. It pretty much starts on New Year's Day pretty much now. I mean, it's getting to be that. It's just getting to be really ridiculous how early they start. It's too commercialized.
Yeah. And I think Erik and I both hate the commercialism of Christmas.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you have Christmas stuff coming out like before Halloween, that's
or right at the same time.
I know.
It's really bad.
Together.
Yeah. In my opinion, if you want to start it before December, it should be after November 11th for Remembrance Day, just so we can remember our brave men and women who have served in the past and who currently serve. But that's my opinion. But yeah, it should be. They should wait till December 1st.
Well, I mean, here in the States, it's traditionally you should be not doing it until the day after Thanksgiving, but that has turned into Black Friday shopping and killing each other to get the best deals for Christmas presents.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fine with Christmas as long as it, like Thanksgiving is when it's okay for all the Christmas stuff to start happening. I'm completely cool with that. But anything before Thanksgiving, that's a problem.
It wouldn't go well here in Canada because Thanksgiving is in October.
Well, right, yeah, for you guys.
Yeah, but for you guys, yeah. So what other, one that kind of intrigued me too was time-traveling ghosts at Christmas time. What are you guys' thoughts?
What we kind of talked about
Exactly.
with the Christmas Carol.
Yeah, but I've read different things. I've heard of the Christmas Carol one, but I have also heard of just, because I used to always think it was just a Christmas Carol thing, but the more that I read, the more it seems to be more common in, where was it that I read about it? My mind is drawing a blank. I think it was someplace over in Europe that, I had this written down and I can't seem to find it. But have you guys ever... I know. Don't you tisk me. So have you guys heard of any other time-traveling ghosts other than the ones from the Christmas Carol?
None that I can think of. I mean, I have heard tales of abductee type of activity happening around Christmas time. Not in the not so distant past, late 1800s, even early 1900s. So in a sense, those things could have been interpreted as time traveling ghosts in a sense, because it was technology that they didn't really understand. So they're like, oh my God, they're from the future and they're spirits. But nothing where it would be like a time traveling ghost or anything like that. What about you, Erik?
I can't say I have it, like anything outside of A Christmas Carol, honestly. And I haven't done the research or tried to do the research because it's never really crossed my mind. Like, are there other time traveling ghosts?
Well, it also falls down to as well your beliefs in time travel in general too.
Yeah, but I think like if you're thinking of ghosts or like the spiritual realm, it's much easier to comprehend the idea of time travel as opposed to humanity. You know. Yeah. Not that I don't believe in human time travel. I just don't believe in it yet, fully. But in the future,
so you're gonna have to time travel to know that it's real.
One day, maybe. But there's people out there who believe time travel is a thing now. Nah.
Well, we have people who claim that they have come. They're staying with us now, and that they're from the future. So who knows?
Liars.
Yeah.
They may not know they're liars, but they're liars.
Maybe a little bit too much in the sauce. Christmas eggnog.
Yeah.
So
could you imagine the stories that people could tell today, being drunk on eggnog, and they're like, "Yeah, I was abducted. I got the anal probes and everything."
I love the accent. Have you guys ever heard of Black Peter?
Yes.
Yes.
We did a show on Black Peter.
Yes.
About a year ago, I think.
I think it was with with the La Befana.
Yep. And that was the first time that I heard of it was on your show, because I had obviously heard of Krampus. Who hasn't heard of Krampus, who's into the paranormal? But I found it interesting that Black Peter, not as mean as Krampus, but tell us what you found. Or do
Erik, do you remember a whole lot about it? Because
do I remember?
Well, that's why I asked. Your memory is better than mine is.
No, I'll tell you what. It's interesting because, like, you would think with all the research that Justin and I do on these shows, and for as many shows that we've done over the last 10 years on various programming, we should just know all this stuff right off the top of our head. And people ask us questions like in person sometimes, like, what is such and such, or what do you think about this or that? And I'm like, to be honest with you, I have no idea. I've got a radio show about it. You can get all the information there. Let me point you in that direction. But I can't tell you off the top of my head because I don't retain information like that.
Did I
it's
talk about that?
It's like I have it for that episode, and I've got like cues in front of me to help me remember.
Yep.
But once that episode's gone, everything's kind of just slowly whittles away until the next episode when I have a whole new thing of information to think about.
So go ahead.
I was just gonna say educate us a little bit because I'm having a hard time remembering the legends.
So apparently he's from the Netherlands. And he joins Santa, the jolly old elf himself, on a boat from Spain, where they live instead of the North Pole. And he assists in distributing goodies to nice children. But he's also, apparently he used to be a devil and he was conquered, and now he's forced to help Santa. Does that sound a little...
No. The thing with that, like, so Black Peter is... I think he's kind of somewhat of, I mean, obviously it goes back a while, but he's kind of a modern take because the whole idea of the devil thing, there are quite a bit artistic renderings of Santa traveling around with a small demon. And that's actually something, Justin, you and I talked about. I think it was our first Christmas episode for Night Stalkers way back when we were comparing Santa and Krampus. And the demon used to walk around and was kind of, in a way, he was Santa's right-hand man, but he was also kind of like Krampus in a way. Only instead of showing up on the night before Christmas, he would just come into the room with Santa, and he'd be the one to leave the coals or to whack kids with sticks and stuff, and basically beat them for their bad deeds. While Santa would go around and give the goodies to the good kids.
Justin, do you have any thoughts?
Well, it could honestly be that Krampus and Black Pete are the same thing, just two different regions came up with a similar story.
That's a possibility. Maybe some location we're trying to tone it down a little bit for not to scare the kids as much. Who knows?
Right. Well, and I mean, there are so many legends that have surpassed different countries and even different continents. And to me, Black Pete was one of those where it was similar enough to Krampus to make it seem that maybe it was the same tradition, just a different character in the respect that, like you said, they did tone it down. Krampus, I mean, was so devilish, in fact, that he used to even eat children, naughty children. So,
yeah, I can't remember when the first time I heard about Krampus, and I thought that's kind of disturbing. I wonder if, do you know how they came up with the Krampus? Do you think it was to make little kids, boys and girls, behave?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like most.
Like most folklores or tales that we're told, they're always a way to kind of get kids to behave. I mean, obviously, if you're telling a kid, especially back in the day when he was created, today obviously there's like social media, and most kids don't even believe in Santa Claus by the time they're like 5, which is horribly sad. But like, if you're gonna tell a kid that if they're not good, that there's this devil who's going to come around and either A, leave them coal, B, beat them with an iron rod, or C, devour them, and that's it, eat them, you're going to be good, especially when you don't have any sources that tell you otherwise. I mean, back when Krampus was first created as folklore, no one was really much the wiser. It was something that took root. As with much folklore, the werewolf, vampires, they're both huge still nowadays. And those are folklore tales that just kind of popped up and took root. Once something takes root, that's it.
Yeah. Hard to get rid of an idea once it's out there. Yeah. Have you guys ever come across anything other, like for magic snowmen, other than Frosty? I had someone ask me this the other day, and I was trying to research it, and I can't find anything other than Frosty.
Magic snowman.
I mean, other than the most recent horror movie, Jack Frost, I mean, it's not super recent, a couple of years now, but other legends, no, I can't think of any.
Yeah, I was pretty stumped too.
Yeah.
'Cause I know you guys are pretty good at finding things out, and I thought I'd mention that because, like I said, a friend asked, and I said, I've never really thought of that before. Tried to find some information and can't find it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Frosty's pretty much like really the only one that I know of offhand that's considered magical, other than like the number of spoofs for kids' stories and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time, as far as I know, Frosty kind of goes back to the 1950s. Do you know if they went further than that?
No, it was just a story that was invented, that specific story anyways.
Yeah.
But even just kind of looking right now, it's mostly all Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
There's no reference, unless you think about the Abominable Snowman and that legend.
I wonder if that's where they got the idea from.
Possibly.
And I wonder how much time until there's going to be a Mrs. Snowman, with the way the world's getting crazy.
Well, did you ever see the sequel to Frosty the Snowman, the cartoon?
No.
He does get married.
Does he really?
He sure does.
See, I could write this stuff.
You're just connected to the universal consciousness. That's all.
Like a Borg. So what other myths, legends, entities have you heard of that's mystical for this time of year?
There was the Christmas giant or giantess.
Giant.
Do you remember?
Giant.
You don't remember her?
I don't remember her.
Oh goodness, what was her name?
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
Well, we'll come back to that. The Christmas cat of Iceland.
Ah, yes, we did talk about that one. I remember the Christmas cat.
Christmas cat.
Christmas cat.
Yola Koturin. I'm probably butchering that name. But
You probably did better than I would have.
it was a giant cat that would come around Christmas time and drag away, kind of like all the other legends, drag away the bad kids or even bad people, and eat them. And I believe this was the pet of the giant that I'm talking about.
Grilla, right? Grilla, something like that.
Yeah.
Was that Norse?
Grilla?
Yeah.
It's an Icelandic legend, so yeah, I think Norse, right?
Iceland, yeah. And Grilla, the Yule lads, and however you pronounce the Christmas cat's name, they were all kind of like this family. And then at one point in the legend, Grilla, or Gryla, she would have the Yule lads, which were her sons, go and punish the bad kids. But it got to the point where she told them that they couldn't eat them or harm them anyway. It came down to leaving the coal or something that was not as much a treat as what Santa Claus left. So it was interesting to see that story actually it evolved over time.
With all these legends, there seems to be a theme here of devouring children, and that's
right.
Yeah, and you gotta have to wonder why that is though too. Why is it that all these creatures are devouring? Is it simply a fear tactic to help get kids, on the right path, if you will, or is it kind of, I guess, interpreting or shedding new light on the idea of what kids often do around these times, and that's devour candy and cookies like crazy, and they're kind of, linking the two together. Like, hey, you're being a glutton, so here's something that's going to take revenge on you for such a thing.
maybe.
That could be. I honestly think it was more of a fear factor type deal, because what is more fearsome than death itself?
You're right. When I have kids, I'm going to scare them by telling them if they're not good, I'm going to eat them.
So you're going to be like,
I'm going to show them the
Zeus's
frying
dad.
pan. I'm going to show them a frying pan, and then when I'm cooking up meat, I'll be like, this was the little kid next door. They're like, there's no kid next door. I know, they're right in this frying pan.
Not anymore.
You better behave.
do you know the legend of Zeus's dad? Kronos?
Zeus's head?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He had birthed the gods, and he was eating them because he heard a legend or a prophecy that one of his children were going to take his throne. So he was eating them all. And when it came down to Zeus's mother wrapped a stone in a swaddling and fed it to Kronos. And that's how the legend came to pass, that Zeus killed Kronos and took over, or entrapped him. I can't remember where the legend goes, but
I've heard both.
Now that you say that, you kind of remind me of Kronos.
Oh, well.
I've told my children when they were a lot older, of course, like teenagers, that now I know why some species eat their young. And they just kind of look at me. That's such a bad idea.
So gross. The thought of it. Ugh.
Yeah.
So another legend, I'm actually has gotten to the list that we actually did during that time. Belsnickel, who is kind of like this Santa Claus looking character. He carried a whip with him and whipped the bad children or gave them candy as a reward. He is technically the Saint Nicholas of Germany. Past Germany, I guess I should say. And it's interesting because it's like, it is scary, but it almost makes you wonder if that's where the whip of the Santa Claus that we come today, where he drives the sleigh and the reindeer with, came from.
That's interesting. Never thought of that. You guys are good. So,
Erik, what was another one that you had?
Hans Trapp offhand. Hans Trapp is another one that was a little different. He was kind of a anti-Santa type of deal, but legend says that he was actually based off of a real man who is rich and greedy and considered evil, and apparently worshipped Satan, and as such was excommunicated from the Catholic Church. And so as he was exiled into the forest, he decided to start preying upon children disguised as a scarecrow. He often had straw jutting out of his clothing and stuff. And one day, as legend goes, he was about to eat a boy who he had captured. But when he did, he was suddenly struck by lightning and killed as a punishment by God himself. And so the legend continues by saying that his spirit, the spirit of Hans Trapp, still shows up. I don't know if it's on Christmas or if it's Christmas Eve or something like that, to visit young children dressed as a scarecrow and simply try to scare them into good behavior.
I don't think I've ever heard that one.
This is actually one that was rather new to us too when we first had researched it, and it's actually a legend that comes out of like the Lorraine and I think it's Alsace. I can't remember. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the city, but two regions of France. If the name Hans didn't tell anyone that. Hans is a French name.
Really?
Or it could be linked to German too.
Could be. Hans Trapp.
The Christmas Scarecrow. Could write a movie about that.
Kat, I'm going to send you this one to pronounce because you know your French way more than I do. But this gentleman, and I'll have you pronounce his name.
Where? I don't see that.
In Skype.
Oh, in Skype. Okay. Oh. Let me get back to here. Pat Fouettard. Père is father, and Fouettard would be the name.
Well, the translation that it shows is Father Whipper.
Oh, yes, you're right. How did I miss that? Because une fouette is a whip.
So it's kind of a similar story to Hans' trap, but the legend differs that Saint Nicholas saved the children that were going to be eaten and made him a servant of his own by taking him away so that the children couldn't be eaten and butchered.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one before. And that's from France?
That is from France.
It's really interesting how various countries have different names and have their own little spin on it, but they all seem to be pretty much the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting that pretty much all legends come from Europe. Why does America not have any? Like, does Canada have
too
any?
young?
Country.
So we should make that's our next goal. That's our goal for the month, Justin. We're going to create a legend, an American-based legend
For Christmas?
for
or just in
Christmas,
For Christmas.
and in general. For Christmas and in general, but for Christmas in particular.
Well, I mean, we came up with the idea of making up our own cryptid and seeing how far it went.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's
Because
I think
that's how legends start.
Pretty much.
It really is. And we were curious, like, if we can create, and it was kind of based off the idea of Slender Man, like how he became so popular. That story became so popular so fast. And something as simple as a small story on some website, catches hold, and next thing you know, you've got movies and children, unfortunately, trying to kill other children. It's sad. But it's kind of this idea of mass hysteria. When people see something, maybe they find it interesting, or maybe they just find it scary, and maybe they don't have any type of evil intent when they start sharing it. But eventually, somewhere down the line, this one myth grasps hold and again takes roots and becomes some sort of truth, or has some sort of truth written within it. And people tend to hold on to that one little bit more so than the rest of it. And it takes shape and becomes something way beyond what the original author intended. And I think Justin and I were talking about it, and we're actually really curious as to how long it would take to actually, like, not to create something, but how long it would take for it to grab hold and take its own roots within society, especially with the internet being so popular. Obviously, we can create possibly a story that is very different from anything that's ever been told, and it could spread throughout the entire world within a matter of a few hours, really.
Yeah.
And see if it's something, later on, where it's like, oh, this is a real story, blah, 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 and then see if people really start to believe it. And people will. There's always people out there gullible enough. Yes. And I think that's the real problem with a lot of these legends that become irrealities, the gullibility of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of a social experiment.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you guys should really do that. I'd be curious to see how far that goes. Who knows? You might get your own movie.
We might also cause people to do horrible things. So
yeah, that's true.
It's kind of scary.
Never mind then. We wouldn't want to be responsible for that.
Right.
Okay, guys. Well, we're at the end here. So before we go, why don't you tell everyone where you can be found and what you're doing, and maybe Justin, you can start with that.
All right. Well, you can find ParaTruth Radio at paratruthradio.com, and you can find us on pretty much anywhere great podcasts are heard. We're on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn. We mainly upload on Spreaker, but it disseminates to all those different areas. We are a part of Conflict Radio like you are. Mm-hmm. You can find Beyond Reason at beyondreason.net, as well as all those locations as well. And lastly, if you are interested in the books, go to justincancellari.com. I'm sure Kat will be gladly to actually spell that out in the show notes for you because it's a really long last name. But you can also find some of my short stories there, I think. And as soon as the new book is out, I'm also coming out with the second edition of the first book. You can find those there as well.
Awesome.
And as for me, well, Justin pretty much said the one show already. So I guess the only one left is All the Hats. If you're interested in like filmmaking or how the film industry works, then you should check out All the Hats, and you can find us pretty much on like any website that you can listen to podcasts on, minus iHeartRadio. I have not uploaded to iHeart yet. But yeah, pretty much find us anywhere. And if you're more interested in the type of work I do, then you can check out my website, which is just erikskerback.com. It's actually really easy to find because my name is very much Google sensitive. So nobody has my name, very few. So yeah. Do
you still have the revealed up there and everything?
Yeah, I have all of my films up there, or most of my films up there. I don't have a bloody film yet because of the copyright issue that I had, so it got erased and I haven't had a chance to re-upload. But that'll be up this week again.
You mean you have our old movie that we did together about street fighting?
Okay. No, I don't have that, but I do have it on this hard drive.
I have to see that.
Oh my gosh. That was the early days of filmmaking, okay? That was when I didn't know what I was doing.
That's awesome.
The one that you did of the still clips to Marilyn Manson's vampire song. I can't remember the title of it. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty good.
You got to show me these.
All right. I will.
Serious. No, you like I told you guys before, I love your shows, the paranormal ones for obvious reasons, but your new one, Erik, not paranormal related at all, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to give it a listen, and I've told you before, I really enjoy it because it gives you a different perspective, like for someone like me who doesn't know behind the scenes of filmmaking, whether it's the big screen or just, television, it gives you a whole different perspective and appreciation of what goes on behind the scenes, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, Erik and James were actually my podcasters of the month on Beyond Reason, and you were my first one as well.
I was so lucky, and I was so honored. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you very much, you two. Have a very Merry Christmas and a safe New Year, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
And Merry Christmas to you as well.
Thank you. Or like we say up here, Joyeux Noël.
Whatever you just said.
Yeah, I was going to say second that.
Merry Christmas. Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions or comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.